Hello and welcome to another episode of Blue Alpine TV. In today's episode, we will talk about the US's plans on regulating cryptocurrencies, and we'll look into what Switzerland has created in terms of ICO guidelines. So let's start with this first news story. Crypto regulation not anytime soon, says the White House official. So today, a White House official said Friday, which is today, that legislation around cryptocurrencies is unlikely to materialize anytime soon. And the concrete statement here is, I think we're still absolutely studying and understanding what the good ideas and bad ideas in that space are. So I don't think it's close. So the US is currently looking into regulating. It has been a rumor for quite some time, and it doesn't seem to really want to materialize at this stage. This could have multiple reasons. Obviously, one of the reasons would be that actually a lot of people are looking into this topic, and it is a quite complex topic. And considering that cryptocurrencies are generally touching a lot of areas and a lot of industries, they want to be careful in the ruling that they will do in terms of regulation. One of their main worries, however, is here. We are worried. There are benefits to the Bitcoin concept, digital cash, digital currencies, but at the same time, if you look at the way Bitcoin works, after there is a criminal act that takes place, you cannot rewind the clock and take back that currency. So I think this came from the U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, and so this is the main worry. Obviously, when you transact something on the Bitcoin, be it illegal or illegal, it is there and it is not reversible. So there are no refunds, there are no back transactions, all of these things, and it is covered on the blockchain. And this is the general idea of the technology. So obviously, in the terms of governments and states looking into this topic, this can be a bit problematic, especially considering that a state or a government wants to protect its citizens. That is something they have to look into and have to really research. So I think we will hear more details coming up in the coming days and weeks. I wouldn't expect something anytime soon, because I feel like a lot of states have only started looking into Bitcoin right now. So I don't think it is likely that we will hear something tomorrow or in the next few days. It is very likely that we'll hear something in the coming months, if not years. And as soon as we have the regulatory framework, I think more people will actually enter Bitcoin and generally cryptocurrencies. Now, if you look at another country, which is actually where we are, Blue Alpine Research, and I am currently, is Switzerland. So the FINMA in Switzerland is the Swiss Financial Market Supervisory Authority, and it has published a guideline on how to handle ICO. So a lot of companies have actually come to Switzerland, especially to Zug, because it is considered the crypto valley, be it for the legal framework or the financial framework or guidelines that they already are. So a lot of companies, including like the Ethereum Foundation and other companies, have set foot in Zug, and it is mainly because Switzerland in general is quite a technology-friendly country, quite stable country, and especially an important marketplace in and around the world. So the FINMA has actually created now this guideline regarding ICOs, because it was, until this day, it wasn't really clear how ICOs should be, for example, taxed or should be treated in a way so that it can be taxed or regulated at a later stage. And the FINMA is saying creating transparency at this time is important given the dynamic market and the high level of demand. So even the FINMA realized that there is a lot of demand from people, so a lot of ICOs are happening every day, and the FINMA wants to create some guidelines here. So depending on the manner in which ICOs are designed, they may not in all cases be subject to regulatory requirements. Circumstances must be considered on a case-by-case basis. So even though they are publishing these guidelines, they are saying, look, there will be hybrids, there will be variations of this model, and we can't cover all kinds of ICOs or any kind of ICO in these guidelines. We will cover the main part and we'll take it from there and adjust these guidelines if necessary. They are also saying at present there is no ICO specific regulation, nor is there relevant case law or consistent legal doctrine. And I think they are mainly referring to Switzerland, but they are also mentioning that also internationally there is not really any kind of guideline in a legal manner. At present, there is no generally recognized terminology for the classifications of token, either in Switzerland or internationally. FINMA categorized tokens into 3 types, but hybrid forms are possible. So they have created these 3 or selected these 3 big token types. One is a payment token, and it says a payment token is basically a token like Monero or Bitcoin or Dash are synonymous with cryptocurrencies and have no further functions or links to other development projects. Tokens may in some cases only develop the necessary functionality and become accepted as a means of payment over a period of time. So these are really only focused on payment, nothing else. And that's it. Utility tokens are tokens which are intended to provide digital access to an application or service. So this could be, for example, in this case, Ethereum or Ether could be a utility token, or for example, NEO or gas, for example, should also be a utility token. Now, the third category they have selected is asset tokens. Asset tokens represent assets such as participations in real physical underlyings, companies, or earnings streams, or an entitlement to dividends or interest payments. In terms of their economic function, the tokens are analogous to equities, bonds, or derivatives. Now, concretely, we have one example here. It's actually also from Switzerland, from Zurich. It's called Modum, and the Modum coin is actually an asset token. So it is kind of like you own a part of the company with that token, and that is exactly what they're defining as an asset token. Now, what is interesting is asset tokens in real physical underlyings, companies, or earning streams. So how is it handled, for example, in NEO's gas situation? So gas is kind of like a dividend. So is NEO more of a utility token or an asset token? And these are exactly the in-between tokens that can't be really put into one category, but that's why they're saying hybrid forms are possible. We think generally this is the right approach to start with these 3 big tokens. Maybe you could dive here a bit further down and maybe split down the payment tokens into like security tokens and purely payment focused tokens, or another way. But I think it's a good beginning and a good start to get this guideline as a base for regulators and lawmakers. So the FINMA will handle ICO inquiries as follows. And by the way, if you don't know this, in Switzerland, the FINMA has kind of an authority to say yes or no to certain actions in, for example, when it comes to IPOs or ICOs, but also when it comes to fusions or mergers and acquisitions. So the FINMA has to approve certain things. So they definitely have a say in how they will handle or how future ICOs will be handled. So they're creating these if it's a payment ICOs, for ICOs where the token is intended to function as a means of payment and can already be transferred, FINMA will require compliance with anti-money laundering regulations, which was to be expected. FINMA will not, however, treat such tokens as securities. This is also good. So anti-money laundering is definitely on in the payment ICOs. However, the payment means are not treated as securities. Utility ICOs, these tokens do not qualify as securities only if their sole purpose is to confer digital access rights to an application or service, and if the utility token can already be used in this way at the point of issue. If a utility token functions solely or partially as an investment in economic terms, FINMA will treat such tokens as securities, i.e. in the same way as asset tokens. So again, let's say Ethereum does an ICO, and technically it's not considered a security, but if it has this hybrid functionality where at the same time it's part for example, if you own a part of the foundation or the company, all of these things, then it will be considered a security. Asset ICOs, FINMA regards asset tokens as securities, which means that there are securities law requirements for trading in such tokens, as well as civil law requirements on the Swiss Code of Obligations, AG prospectus requirements. So asset ICOs are actually the strictest in terms of ICOs, and they probably have to fill out the most check marks in order to properly get started. So these will be treated purely as securities and apply. So the same securities laws apply to asset ICOs as well. Generally, I think, like I've already mentioned, it's a good approach. I think it's a good beginning. Down the road, however, I think this won't be enough. So there will be different types and different variations of these ICOs and of these tokens, that some might be, like they've said, hybrid. So some might turn later on into assets, but will start out as utilities and all of these things. So it is a bit unclear on how these will be treated if it is more of a hybrid model, which actually happens quite a lot in different token models. However, FINMA recognizes the innovative potential of blockchain technology and therefore supports the federal government's blockchain ICO working group, in which it is participating. So the blockchain ICO working group is kind of a working group that has been created by the state of Switzerland, and the FINMA is part of it, and obviously wants to have a say in these discussions. And I think this is the right approach. So as a government, this is exactly what, or as a citizen of this government, this is exactly what I would expect. So it needs to be an expert group needs to be created to research and understand the technology, and based on that to really build something around regulations and laws in order to really fuel the growth for this blockchain revolution. Obviously, in case of Switzerland has a very interesting I want to say almost political position, but it is more of an economical position, as being one of the main financial hubs in the world. Switzerland doesn't want to lose that, so they want to stay up to date when it comes to blockchain and cryptocurrency developments. So that is why this whole crypto valley and the support from the Swiss government has actually started. So I think Switzerland will continue to have a very good and positive climate for blockchain technologies in general. On one side, to cover the next fuel of economic growth that will come if these companies actually get founded here and get traded here and all of these things. And on the other side, obviously, to also have some kind of control over these projects. And with that, we're already at the end of today's episode. We'll probably do a bit of a special episode tomorrow again. But for now, this is it. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.